Brunette.
J_Brunette15. Almost fucked up my own Instagram handle.
I normally do that for you.
Yep.
You know what? Let's just get into it. We have the introductions are done. There's Josh Allen, if you were wondering. Let's do a real quick recap. World Series. For the future, always bet against me. If I pick something in baseball, I'm probably going to be wrong. Houston Astros come back, seal the deal.
Kind of dog walked the Phillies too. That offense went ice.
We went from, hey, you know what? It's not making it back to Houston to Mattress Matt cashing in the $75 million. Houston Astros big winner. Old man. Right? He did very well for himself.
Yeah. If only I had that kind of money to throw around.
Dusty Baker gets his ring.
Which I'm not mad about it. I'm not.
They had a very good team. They were very competitive.
Trey Mancini, too, after beating cancer and everything, gets a ring.
Phillies had a hell of a run.
Yeah.
They'll probably stick around for the next few years. Probably they got a nice young team. We'll probably get into more off-season baseball stuff once the winter meetings hit. We'll see where Aaron Judge goes and all that other fun stuff.
February should be real fun with baseball.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of people that are going to be on the move.
Ohtani maybe getting traded.
I've heard that was getting absolutely shut down.
Right. I mean...
But
we can get into it once we get into the baseball stuff because there's a lot to cover when it comes to baseball movement stuff, like especially Ohtani. Whatever they pay him, he's going to make them times 400 million just because of the attraction he brings. So.
There's 40 people on each team. You got minor league systems. Yeah. There's so many moving parts in baseball.
But I guess congratulations to the Astros. I guess whatever. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
A little golfers
Good for them. Okay, football. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah,
for the most part, that's why we're here. Thursday night game, Eagles had a little scare. Houston, 14-14 into halftime. Eagles ended up winning 29-17. Houston, I think we've said this for the last 3 weeks. They have a well-coached team.
I love Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith is...
Damian Pierce.
One of my favorites.
Might be the best running back in football. That guy is an absolute stud, and there is nothing on that team. Tunzel, their left tackle, is real good. Laramie Tunzel. Yeah. I don't know what else they have. Like, I'm looking at the roster, and I'm just like, wow. Like, Davis Mills, like, Brandon Cook's real sad that he didn't get traded.
He should be playing for these guys right here.
And I think I want to hear your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles real quick because the Eagles now improved to 8-0, tied at halftime against the Houston Texans. So all of a sudden, I'm starting to see these memes. I'm starting to see the things. Eagles really haven't.
Yeah,
their big win is Cooper against the Dallas Cowboys. Cooper Rush is the quarterback.
Cooper Dank Rush.
I kind of like Cooper Dank Rush, but I mean, if some people like Dak Prescott over him, whatever. But
it's our fantasy quarterback, Adam. We needed our fantasy quarterback to come back.
But they did. They beat Detroit week 1. They beat primetime Kirk Cousins. So people crap on that. The Vikings are 7-1 at this point. They beat the Commanders, Jaguars, dysfunctional Cardinals. They said the big one was against Cowboys.
Yep.
We're not worried about the Eagles, right?
I'm not that because
I mean they're going to be a playoff team, and I also too like just throwing this out there. I saw a couple sports analysts on ESPN saying, you know what, it might be good if they lose a game just to get it so they're not stressed about 16-0. You should be immediately fired from your job. You can't just go out there and be like, you know what, let's just lose because there's too much pressure on us to win. Like, what happens if you make it to the Super Bowl? Like, oh, well, hang on, guys. Good thing we lost 6 weeks ago because now it doesn't matter. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Not worried
was
about
that Scoop? Eagles. Did Scoop say that?
Probably. He watches the games. I'm not worried about the Eagles, but like I said, the Texans, well-coached team. I like Damian Pierce. I don't like anything else on their team, but
the Eagles team though have one of the best. I'm going to say the best offensive line in football, and then they have one of the better defensive lines in football. I think and that's been their staple.
I think Pro Football Focus and ESPN both give them number 1 for offensive line,
which they should.
I like their defense. They got some nice pieces. Darius Slade, shutdown corner. Brandon Graham.
So happy he wasn't like that in Detroit. Fuck that.
Right? Guy. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He got out of there quick. So yeah, we're not worried. All these analysts, they just have something to talk about. I don't know what that is. So let's move ahead. Patriots, Colts. Costed Frank Reich his job. Like that's goodbye. See he's coaching the same amount of teams as me right now. Yeah. Was he the worst coach in football that was left?
He didn't look great. He didn't
like
he wanted to bring in Commander Carson, who is now injured on the
Yeah. No. So then I guess we might as well just get into it right now. Colts. They look like they could have been a contender. Not a contender, but at least challenging for the division. Yeah. Then they benched Matt Ryan, who was the number 3 in yards and quarterback. I think he was 3rd in touchdowns with 9. I mean, he led the league in interceptions, but at least they were competitive.
Yeah, I think they jumped the gun on trust me, I really love Ellinger. I think he's going to be good in the future, but
I don't know
what is sitting him 5 games, whatever amount of games. What does that matter?
I don't know. I don't know.
And you're paying Matt Ryan what? And now apparently he's injured, isn't he? Injured?
I saw that he had something where he may have had an injured shoulder, and I don't know if that was just. I'm looking it up quick. They had him. He said he's fine. He could play.
They're paying him like $33 million or something stupid, aren't they?
That reeked of Frank Reich trying to save his job. That reeked of, hey, you know what? The owner wants to see Ellinger. I'm going to play him. It's going to save my job. And that was a must-win game. Not only was it a must-win game, but he fired the offensive coordinator who didn't call the plays.
Yeah, I didn't.
So he basically, I don't know if he was like, the guys giving me bum advice, whispering in my, I don't know what that was about.
That was a lot.
And then, so Ellinger got sacked 9 times. He got sacked 9 times in that game. And I think now we're in the situation where, and this has gotten wild today. So they hired Jeff Saturday off ESPN analyst, former Colts center, hired him.
I love the pickup.
And not that I don't like the pickup, but it was just very strange how it came about because they hire him. Jim Irsay shocked. He can't believe that Jeff Saturday is still available. He can't believe this is happening. The guy was on ESPN a couple days ago as an analyst.
That whole press conference was a little...
That was a lot, and I think it's great, too, because the last thing he said, one of his last tweets, Jeff Saturday, was like, the Raiders are dog shit, paraphrasing. And now he gets to play the Raiders in his first game, so we'll get to see. But I see that there's a lot of backlash that naming an interim coach gets around the Rooney rules. I don't know if that's something you want to touch on because it didn't really cross my mind until I saw they're starting to get some backlash on it.
I don't understand where that makes, one, I don't really understand the Rooney rules to begin with, I don't think.
Well, we could argue about the effectiveness and whatever, but it's obviously, for those who don't know, you have to interview at least 3 candidates and you have to interview 1 minority. So if you name an interim coach, you don't have to do that process. I don't know. I think
Did they want them to go get Eric Bieniemy, the interim head coach for the Colts for the rest of the year? I don't understand how...
now you have to find somebody that's not currently employed. They did that anyway, but I feel like this is a pretty cut and dry case. The Colts are a dumpster fire of a team. They shouldn't be a dumpster fire of a team. They have now fallen considerably back on the Titans, and I think this is I want to sell some season tickets. Jeff Saturday, beloved center, Peyton Manning era. I think that's what this is.
What did people want them to do? Go get Brian Flores, the guy who's still being investigated and all this other nonsense?
I think he's a coach for the Steelers too. I don't know. I don't know how it works right now.
I didn't understand any of that. That made no sense to me. I didn't understand why people are getting so upset about it.
Right, because that was kind of that. As soon as I saw him, they're just doing it to sell tickets.
Yeah, it seems like a chip in, gimme. Higher, absolutely.
Because the Colts are legend. And the Colts are 3-5-1 right now, so they still could be in it.
There's still a shot.
Kind of strange. The Colts are a strange team all around. Jonathan Taylor, you got Michael Pittman. Their offensive
Jonathan Taylor has been one of the biggest disappointments this year.
Well, yeah, he has. He's been hurt. He's a little. I don't think Frankie was doing him any favors. So now New England improves to 5-4. I don't really know. I think New England's going to be one of those teams that just kind of hangs around. They play very good defense. They're probably top 2, top 3 defense. They're very good. We're going to see how far Mac and Cheese could take them. They don't have a
They're going to lean on the run game.
They don't really have a whole. There's a lot of teams I think that compete this year, and we'll get into the Jets, the Titans, Patriots. Just on the AFC side. I'll even throw in Cleveland Browns on there too. Even Denver a little bit, but. It's not Denver. I take that back.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like they play pretty decent defense. They're heavily relying on not screwing up. I don't want to say heavily relying on the run game, but hey, don't screw up. Let's hope the other team screws up. I feel like there's a lot of that going on right now. And New England, like, Mac Jones hasn't been crazy impressive. Zappy wasn't crazy impressive. Like, he had a couple of decent games, but Ramondre, like I said, we'll see how far it takes him, but I don't know. Beating up on the Colts, who can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dog walking.
That was 26. Like I said, 26-3.
But 9 times, let me tell you though, if they're playing anybody, I'm gonna guess that the Bill Belichick coach team is not gonna be the one to fuck up.
Right.
That's just so.
Right, and that might get them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that actually might get them to the playoffs.
I don't see why it couldn't. Honestly.
So next on here, we might as well hit it right here. It's next up on the list. Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers. I feel like there's a lot to unfold here. We could wait till the end, but why? Let's just get to it now. Aaron Rodgers throws 3 interceptions. All 3 inside the 25-yard line.
That might be his worst played game of his career.
Probably the worst played game of his career.
It was the first time he threw 3 interceptions in his entire career.
Which is crazy impressive. Crazy impressive. He throws 3 interceptions, basically loses them the game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that knocks them out of the playoffs, but now, I mean...
The NFC is not good, though.
At 3-6, so right now, for them, they are 2 games back on the 49ers.
That's what I'm saying. And, I mean, the 49ers are a far better team than the Packers at this point.
Right,
But to be only 2 games back...
Because right now, the Giants are in 6th place at 6-2. So you're basically, right now, you're going to compete with the 49ers. So you're 4 games back on the Giants. Unless the Giants, I'll throw the Cowboys in there. Unless the Giants and Cowboys or Eagles, unless they all have monumental collapse, that looks like those teams are I don't want to say a lock, but you got a lot of ground to catch up.
Absolutely. Or the Vikings would have to have an absolute collapse too. But.
Yeah, the Vikings. Vikings at 7-1. I mean, now you're talking a 5-game.
Yeah, I know.
A 5-game comeback. So Green Bay's in a lot of trouble.
No, absolutely.
And I think I don't know. I watched a lot of that game. Just flipping it back and forth, just seeing where they were. Detroit's defense isn't good.
No,
but they have a lot of athletes on that defense. Very young defense.
Yeah, absolutely. They fly around the ball.
Kirby Joseph and Aiden Hunt just had three interceptions. So that was 3 rookies. The one was weasel trick play to try to throw it, gets intercepted at the goal line.
But just terrible decision by Rodgers.
And then even Green Bay, he had the fumble in the 4th quarter, ended up going out of bounds, didn't cost him.
Yeah.
Terrible decision by Rodgers. Now, normally I would say, okay, you know what? Green Bay's just not a very good team. We've seen the things. Rodgers can't beat the 2 high safeties. The receivers can't get open. Now all of a sudden, I'm going to say he's your boy. I don't know if he's your boy or not. He's playing really well. Devondre Campbell today comes out. I don't know what this stemmed from.
Yeah,
I don't know what the contact. I just saw it got shared.
I wish I'd listened to the entire thing because honestly, I don't know what he was.
And I'm sure there has to be a lot of. You always want to have faith in your teammates.
Yeah.
But to say that Jordan Love.
My guess, before you even get to finish that statement, my guess is going to be that a reporter came out and was like, oh, well, what do we think about should Rodgers be the starting quarterback, all this other stuff, because people are saying that he's retiring and all this, and he comes out and he says, just because I've been frustrated with the season doesn't mean that I'm retiring.
And I just want to back up real quick. So we are week 9. Did you think at the start of the season there might be chatters, is it time for Aaron Rodgers to get benched?
No, and I'll tell you what, put those to bed immediately. He hasn't been playing as well as he has been in his other seasons. Yes, cool. You look at the stats, they obviously show that. This is the worst offensive receiving core that might ever have been in Green Bay.
It's really bad.
And
it's really bad.
This was the first game that you can solely look at Rodgers and go, yeah, that was your fault.
And I think I don't know if there.
It sucks that it happened when the rest of the team, the entire rest of the team played well, right. And Rodgers was the one to throw it away.
The running game did okay. Like Aaron Jones might be hurt; he might miss a couple games. We'll see what goes on with there.
Not thrilled about
that.
So
the Devondre Campbell quote was, "He's a starting quarterback. He's better than a lot of starting quarterbacks." And Jordan Love. Now you have a few issues too with the Green Bay Packers. So allegedly offered Carolina a first for DJ Moore.
I doubt it.
you and I both saw that, and I was like,
I don't see that.
I know your brother will disagree, but that's kind of an insult to Carolina for a first rounder for DJ Moore. Like, for 3 back-to-back 1,200-yard seasons.
With me and you at quarterback.
And I think Tyler Heineke, Kyle Allen, Teddy Roosevelt, Teddy Two Gloves, Sam Darnold. So it's like you're throwing those in there. PJ, the PJ. But it's like, so was that just like, hey, Aaron, we tried? Like, is that what that was? Because
I think so, absolutely.
Because they allegedly did offer a second for Claypool. Allegedly kicked tires on
Darren
Waller, but Darren Waller, he just signed a contract extension.
Yeah.
Raiders
and the guy hasn't been healthy all
unless
year.
you blow away the Raiders with a trade. They're not accepting a trade because you're basically selling low. It's like, but you're buying a stock. Like, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna buy it at the top and then sell it low. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
So I couldn't tell them. My first reactions to it was they're just doing this to be like, hey, Aaron, hey, this is what you asked for. We tried. It didn't work out. This is on you.
I think Brian Gutekunst is one of the worst general managers in football. I think he is an absolute fucking joke.
I could be wrong, and I thought I read this as an article, and you're going to have insight. I probably should have done more research on this. Green Bay, I think, is the only team that all of their offensive starters are drafted or undrafted from by the Green Bays. They have no free agents on that entire offense.
Sammy Watkins was a free agent.
Wait, but he's not a starter. Wasn't listed as a starter.
Okay.
So that was like, they did bring in something like Randall, but Randall Cobb technically drafted. They tried to run him back, but I think the starters were Dobbs, Tanyan, and I'm trying to think of who Dobbs. And then they list A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones.
Okay, so you're probably looking Aaron Jones, Tanyan drafted.
All the entire offensive line was drafted or undrafted.
Dobbs was drafted.
So I believe
Lazard was drafted.
I believe those were those were the listed starters.
Mm-hmm.
So Green Bay is the only team that their entire thing is just drafted undrafted. So that means they have not gone out for trades. They have not gone out for free agents. They're pretty much like, it almost seems like now at this point they're like, Aaron, this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
You're not getting any more help.
Rodgers has thrown to one first-round receiver in his entire career, and you might know this just because you've got a very good football knowledge, but if you can guess it...
Is it Mercedes Lewis? Yeah. So
the 40-year-old, the nearly 40-year-old tight end that's a blocking tight end.
Oh, it's just...
He's the only first-round player that Rodgers has ever thrown a touchdown to.
So now, as a Green Bay Packer fan, so you are more than halfway through the season, what is the goal here? They have 46 players on the roster for next year. They're $1 million under the cap, so they're going to have to make. There's got to be some guys that are leaving. Mm-hmm. It looks like Aaron Jones will be the odd man out just because, just the way that they structured, just the way they structured all of the contracts to get everybody under to fit this year. The only person they're going to save a ton. I mean, they will restructure. Like, don't get me wrong, there might be, but you start looking at 2023, and I mean. You're not going to get rid of Bakhtiari. Preston Smith, you save $3 million. Kenny Clark, you're going to save $3 million. That's the anchor of the defense in the middle.
Kenny Clark is one of the best defensive players.
You take a penalty on Jair. You take a penalty on Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Dean Lowry saves you no money.
Amos is probably somewhere around $3-4 million.
Adrian Amos, if you cut him, you save no money.
No money.
Like, you save absolutely no money. So, I mean, you start getting into, like, Roswell Douglas, you'll save $3 million. So it looks like if you want to make a splash next year, Aaron Jones has got to go. That's $10.5 million.
And they just re-signed him.
They just re-signed them. They're going to take a bad cap. They're going to take a penalty. It'll be like a Carolina situation. So now you're in the situation where, what do you do? If there's the draft for the top 2 quarterbacks, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, depending on if you like him or not from Kentucky.
I don't like any of them.
But it's like, at that point, you're stuck with this team the next year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is where I'm going to go back to the statement I just made, I don't know, 3-4 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Brian Gutekunst is the worst fucking GM in football.
And I mean, they got $26 million in dead cap space this year just to try to get under where they had to go.
We don't Rams it. We don't trade any draft picks to get any better. We don't do anything. We don't do anything.
I don't know what their plan's going to be, but It certainly seems like they went all in this year
with nothing.
With the hope that they were going to contend. And man, like watching them play, like Detroit Lions defense is not very good. Like Okuda's not. I like Okuda. He's gotten better. Kirby Joseph got the 2 interceptions. Yep. He's a rookie second rounder. Hutchinson, like they have some pieces, but wow, I just don't know where to go. Like you can't trade Jair. You'll take a huge penalty. Yeah, that's going to get interesting. Like they'll restructure Kenny Clark. They'll save some money. They'll restructure Bakhtiari. Save some money. Preston Smith, you might be able to.
I bet you he'll restructure. He's restructured in the past.
He'll restructure, and then it's But then again, you're going to do that. You're going to add 1 or 2 pieces and some draft picks.
I don't get it. And
then I mean, at that point, you're going in 24, 20, 25.
And they'll probably get in the first 2 rounds, maybe 2 more backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, I know,
be a good
right?
guess.
So that's going to be interesting to see what they do. They desperately need a number 1. Like, if they don't get Odell soon. I don't know when he's going to be ready to play.
I don't think he's coming to Green Bay anymore. Either.
But now all of a sudden, you're in some danger zones. You're in some real danger zones. But
I remember saying it to you. I don't believe I ever said it on the podcast. But if there was ever anything that came out, say another 10, 15 years after Rodgers has been gone, whatever. If there was ever something that came out that they just were like, yeah, fuck it, Aaron Rodgers, you get what you get, and that's it.
You wouldn't be. I know you wouldn't be shocked. It just blows my mind that you could go through a span and you have Aaron Rodgers
and Brett Favre
and
win 2 Super Bowls
in 40 years, basically.
2 Super Bowls.
Every other franchise would kill for those 2 for 40 years and get 2 rings would be a very big disappointment.
I never really thought I would say give me Ted Thompson from the grave, but give me Ted. I wish Ted never left.
I mean,
this guy, he looks like a buffoon up there. He doesn't do anything for the team. I don't get what we see, what the allure is with Brian Gutekunst.
I almost feel like it's an ego thing at this point. It's kind of like, you know what, they bring in, so they bring in their coach, LaFleur. Bring in LaFleur. You have Goons to Goons. They come in as a team. And they were kind of like, you know what, Aaron, come on board what we're doing. And he kind of was like, hey, I'm kind of the star here. Let's work together.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. I've heard a lot of rumblings that he wanted to be Tom Brady and pick the team. Regardless, this is all of your jobs on the line. This is Aaron Rodgers' legacy. This is LaFleur's never going to get a better situation walking into that team. And I hate to say they're throwing it away, but I mean they're kind of like
it almost seems like they're deliberately trying to do it.
It almost seems like it's an ego thing. It's like, okay, you know what, Aaron, if this is what you want, this is what you're gonna get. We're not gonna help you.
Yeah.
And the same thing too is Aaron Rodgers is like, here's what I think we should do: have a good defense, strong running game. If
and we don't run the ball.
And you don't run the ball. Like I don't know what the play calling situation is. Like how much leeway Aaron Rodgers has to change the plays, whatever. But what a weird situation in Green Bay, and I think it's only going to get weirder.
I talked about this with a friend of the show, Caleb, last week. The first draft pick that those 2 guys ever had together was out of Utah, Jordan Love.
So backup running back AJ Dillon.
Yep.
Was the first 2 picks.
Yep. Brian Gutekunst wanted to have his Ted Thompson moment, and he reached on a second-round quarterback in the end of the first round.
And you know what? That's like, I'll get into this way more into the draft, but so many things happened during the draft, during draft processes. You find a guy, you're like, this is my guy. You don't care about anything else. Hey, if Aaron Rodgers retires in 3 years, Jordan Love's our guy. But you don't care about you're like, hey, you know what? I'm hearing Horton here's a who. Colts like Jordan Love. Let's trade up. Let's trade assets to get a backup quarterback who might play in 4 years.
Yeah.
Mind blowing to me. I know the part of it was they weren't sure if Aaron Rodgers was going to retire or not. But I don't understand how
you have Aaron, but you have Aaron Rodgers,
and I'm sure unless Aaron Rodgers is that big of a dickbag, like I'm sure if you say hey Aaron Rodgers,
I don't get it.
If you don't commit to me for this year, I'm going to go up and trade for Jordan Love. I'm sure if you have that conversation with Aaron Rodgers will be like, if you're serious, stop being serious. I will commit to this team for this year, maybe next year. I mean, now we're in 3 years, but like you basically now have just thrown this damaged reputation, and it's crazy that they just might. And this is what Green Bay has ended up in with clearly a Hall of Fame quarterback, strong running game. Their offensive line is at least better than average.
Yeah.
It's depending on which site you look at. They're all in the top 15. Where in the top 15, I don't know. And then defense is pretty good. We'll get into the turf thing later with Rashawn Gary because that's going to be a huge blow for them.
Mm-hmm. I think it already is.
But yeah, let's move on. That was a lot of Green Bay. Detroit, nice young pieces. They got to add more to it. I can't wait for Jameson Williams to come back.
Yeah, no, he's going to be electric.
And we'll see what happens. Like, Detroit's kind of winning, kind of falling out of the quarterback sweepstakes. Mm-hmm. Because now, all of a sudden, I was counting yesterday, I could see 11 of the top 16 teams needing a quarterback for the draft that's coming up.
I remember you said that.
And I'll pull up the thing. We'll get into that at the end.
I wouldn't mind talking about that because that seems kind of wild.
It seems kind of wild, right? So let's see. Okay, I'm pulling it up. Let's just hit real quick the Chargers Falcons. I like Tyler Algier, the running back for Atlanta. Atlanta's got some Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts. They actually aren't as bad as people thought they were going to be.
They shocked me. And
the Chargers, are they cursed?
Yeah, I think they were cursed whenever they traded Drew Brees.
Is that Is that when they let him go to almost went to Miami? Miami said no, shoulder's bad.
Yeah.
Send him to New Orleans.
Yep.
Because they got I watched a lot of that game because I'm a Carolina Panther fan. Look at the division.
Yep.
The Chargers is it seems like everybody's hurt.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're always everybody. I feel like Keenan Allen's always banged up. Mike Williams is always banged up. Joey Bosa's always banged up. Like Justin Herbert's always banged up. And now you're like. They're not missing a ton of games, but it's enough that it keeps throwing you out of rhythm. Yeah. And they ended up winning the game 2017. Atlanta almost came to it. I think Marcus Mariota is a very good game managing.
Oh,
he's not going to screw it up. He can move the ball a little bit, but
you look at that's another thing right there. I mean, obviously Phillip Rivers isn't the caliber of a Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. He's a lot closer to a Brett Favre than Aaron Rodgers, but. They had him at the helm for what, 17, 16, 15, 16, 17 years, whatever it was.
Yep.
And they got to what, one AFC championship?
One AFC championship game. And I mean, in the one year they were really good. He tore his ACL against the Colts, tried to play on it. It's hard to win in the NFL too. It is hard to win in the NFL.
That's. And now they got the hair bear, Justin Herbert.
And then he's, like I said, he looks like an all-world quarterback, but it's just like. I guess, you know what? I just really think there's a lot of teams that just have to figure it out. And the Chargers are loaded. You look up and down that roster, and you're like, these guys should be AFC favorites. And they just can't seem to put it all together. But also, too, the NFL staying healthy.
Khalil Mack on that fucking team, too.
Oh, Khalil Mack's playing out of his mind. But it's... Being healthy in the NFL is so hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's their Achilles heel is the Chargers. They just can't say, because like you watch the game and it's like, star player down. It's not like, the backup linebacker.
They threw a golf tee in Tyrod Taylor's lung last year.
Right,
2 years ago,
it's
whatever it was.
It's like, what are we doing?
Maybe that training staff should be fired.
Chargers did win. Falcons better than we thought. Even though they're 4-5, I thought they were going to be an 0-8, 0-9 team.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to be trash. We'll move on to obviously the biggest game, probably the biggest game of this week. Well, whatever, we can talk about that too. Bills and Jets. I was at a wrestling show, so I was watching on a little phone in the back.
I was watching that game here with a friend John and boyfriend.
Yep. So wow, Josh Allen
looked real bad.
Not only did he look horrible, the next day it comes out, got a UCL problem.
Yeah.
They're going to monitor it, see where it is.
He was making the same kind of decisions that he was against Green Bay, which weren't good decisions. Just straight up weren't good decisions.
And, with Josh, talk to me for a second.
You even went with the stash. I love the stash.
How do we... But also, the Jets are a lot better. I've said it many times. Their draft was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
They had a lot of nice young pieces.
They have a very good defensive line.
Picking up DJ Reed. So now all of a sudden you got Sauce, you got Reed. All of a sudden you look at the secondary and you're like, ooh, maybe I don't want to pass against this. But I think a big problem with the Buffalo Bills, they can't run the ball.
No. And they can't run the ball. and they're not very good at stopping the run. That's the two weaknesses on Buffalo.
And it's
probably the only weakness.
And I'm trying to think I've said this the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to think of a team where they're like, hey, we could block the passer, but that running stuff is not. Like, it just seems backwards.
Yeah.
Singletary's
even having a career year.
Singletary's playing well. You got Cook. They got rid of Moss. They bring in Naheem Hines.
Yeah, which we said was kind of a wash.
Which was kind of a wash because I don't really see him as a huge upgrade to James Cook because I think Cook is fine. Like, he's a rookie, but it's. I just don't know. Excuse me. I just don't know about the Buffalo Bills. Like, they're going to win more games than they lose, and they're going to be an elite team just because this guy here is pretty good. Yeah, as long as his right arm's doing okay. And they play pretty good defense, but it's like, this has always been their thing. It's like they just can't, like against the Chiefs, they can't run. When you can't move the ball on the ground, you don't need an all-world running back, which I've argued to the death. But you got to be able to control the ball, whether it be very short passes or
screen plays,
getting your 3 or 4 yards against the tough teams. And the Jets,
quick outs, quick slants.
The Jets watching that game were like, you know what? We're going to play good defense. We are going to run the ball. And we're not going to make Wilson make any tough decisions. And
Which is starting to seem like the thing you got to do with
Wilson. Right, because Wilson, the more and more I watch this guy, I'm like,
he's scary to watch.
He's getting a little nerve-wracking. But the Jets are going to win games with that formula, and the Bills are going to lose close games with that formula. I think they're both very good teams. I still think the Bills are the AFC champions. I don't know about champions, but I think it's still them.
They're definitely
Chiefs.
among the crown jewels
of Bills
that
and Chiefs
championship.
is going to be the rematch.
Well, the hand gestures was a
well, whatever. Maybe some people that might be how it is, but I just don't. I don't know. I watched it. There was some panic. The elbow is obviously an issue.
Yeah,
if he can't throw it deep, if he's got the bum elbow, we're gonna have to watch out.
Maybe he starts throwing left-handed.
But all of a sudden, the Jets look pretty good. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, the Jets look pretty good, and they.
You see Josh Allen out there hawking it with the left.
What's going to be interesting is to see where they finish this year. It'll be interesting if they bring in like a veteran quarterback to get them over the hump, because this is their prime. This is going to be prime because they are not paying a quarterback a lot of money.
No.
They are loaded on offense. They could use some offensive line help, but we'll see. Becton has kind of been the guy that everybody's like, hey, when he comes back. He's got to prove it, though, now, because he's been hurt.
Have they been saying that for, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah, a few years at least since they've drafted him. They're like, he's going to be the left tackle. He's going to be the stud. Mm-hmm. Their defense added a lot of pieces through the draft, through free agency. I like where they're going. Still not worried about the Bills unless Josh, your right arm, is it okay? What are we doing here?
I wish we could move the mic. I'm going to move the mic.
Yeah. Can you talk into the mic, please? Quickly. Vikings Commanders.
Scary game.
I think that's just what the Vikings are at this point. I think they are an above average team. I don't know if they're an elite team, but they are a above average team. Their offensive line isn't great.
It's above average, though.
Dalvin Cook looks pretty good. Their big thing is let's get the ball to Justin Jefferson. We'll mix in some Thielen. Hawkinson had a big game, which is wild on a few days. That might push them up into a different category, depending.
Yeah, because that gives them one of the elite up the seam tight ends in football,
and again,
one of the better receiving tight ends. And in football. Period.
I'm just going to throw this out here. We talked about we had the agreement/disagreement about running backs if they're important.
Yep.
I think having an elite tight end is so important in football.
Oh, yeah.
If you go back the last few years here, you're going to have Gronk, you're going to have Kelsey, you're going to have Kittle. That's a lot of Rams anomaly. They had Higbee, but Higbee's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I think they had Everett there for a little while, too, back.
Yes,
I
they
put
did.
that in there.
They did.
So they've always had really good tight ends, and Kelsey puts the Chiefs in a different atmosphere. Kittle put the 49ers. I mean, they didn't really have a number one receiver. It was, hey, let's get Kittle the ball. They had nice pieces, but I could see Hawkinson making a huge difference because he's going to play whoever you put him out there. Your linebacker better be real good because you can't.
Or your safety better be real big
because you're double teaming Jefferson. You're putting your second best corner on Thielen because that guy's a problem.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to put your best linebacker over Hawkinson, which should open up for Cook. Some things,
because then if you put the best linebacker on Hawkinson, Cook's coming out of the backfield. And what do you do with him?
So they definitely have it. Like I said, they're up the middle on offensive line. Like Jonathan Allen was a problem. But he's a problem for a lot of people, for the Commanders. Like that guy was all over the place. We have breaking news. Moving on to the next game. I think Joe Mixon just scored another touchdown on the Carolina Panthers.
Did he?
I think he did. I think he's up to about 9 touchdowns. Wow, Joe Mixon, one of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he, top 6 in fantasy points? Like, that guy was out of his mind. Carolina, not a good team.
Yeah, he kind of ended the matchup between the two of us in our league.
Yes. Yeah, he ended up a lot of matches, I'm sure. Bengals are starting to go back up.
Yeah.
They stumbled last week, but they're starting to go back up. I like where the Bengals are going. Carolina desperately. Carolina has a lot of holes on their team.
Yeah.
You look at their draft.
I thought the defense was better than that, though.
Carolina's defense. I will give you a quick breakdown of Carolina's defense. I'm a diehard Carolina Panthers fan. So you have Brian Burns and you have Derek Brown. That's your defensive line. They mix in Matt Ioannidis as a good defensive tackle.
Yeah.
He's not great. He's good. He's good against the run.
Yeah, he's a big run stuffer.
I'm going to pull it up here quick while I'm talking about. They got Udor Gross-Matos is playing DN. Frankie Louvu. Yeah, you got Frankie Louvu. He was a former second-round pick that was supposed to take over for Hassan Reddick, who went to the Eagles and now is out of his mind playing for the Eagles.
So he was supposed to be gross, and he's
right. And then they got Shaq Thompson, who's not that good,
which is shocking to me.
Shaq Thompson's been up and down.
When he came into the league, though, he was a stud.
And like Frankie Louvu, very inconsistent. He's still a young player. He shows flashes of brilliance, and then he shows flashes of, hey, I'm going to miss 6 tackles in one game. Corey Littleton and Damian Wilson's their linebackers. Cast off.
I love Littleton, though.
But they were like cast off from other teams that nobody wanted.
I've always liked Littleton, though.
And then you get into the secondary, and J.C. Horn's a dog. That guy is legit number 1 corner. Dante Jackson's horrible. C.J. Henderson's horrible. Yeah. Jeremy Chinn's out. You got Miles Hartfield. You got Xavier Woods. So all of a sudden, the defense, you look at it.
Xavier Woods?
Yeah, Xavier Woods. I think he was a former Viking, former Cowboy. Yep. But Carolina, it seems like they have an elite piece next to a below-average piece. And you could look at all across the board. You've got, besides Ioannidis, he's good, but their defensive line is Burns, Brown, top lottery picks, Gross-Matos, rolling in Bravion Roy, 6th-round pick, not very good. You got and then your linebackers is you have Shaq Thompson, who's about as inconsistent as it comes. So you're going to have the games where
he was next to Luke Kuechly.
He was Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. But so then you have like when Jeremy Chinn's out. Now all of a sudden you have below average safeties. Mm-hmm. Before you have Chinn and Woods. Hey, that's pretty good. Now you have Miles Hartfield and the same thing too is like J.C. Horn. Pro Football Focus has him like a top 5 corner. Like he is legit.
No, he's legit. He's a real.
But then
deal.
you have Dante Jackson, who's like the fastest man on the planet, and just gets burned like nonstop. And the same thing, like they traded it for a cast-off C.J. Henderson. So all of a sudden you're looking around and you're like, well, I don't want to throw it to Horn.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw it to these guys.
Yeah.
And then those guys can't cover anything. Like it's just so their defense is so far. It's just like it's mixed. It's a mix of elite and not elite.
Yeah,
and
that's a very fair assessment.
So when you have a game where Brian Burns had a sack, like he had a decent game, but they were like, you know what? We don't have to run it at Brian Burns. Like, Brian Burns did play poorly against the run, but you all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're going to run the ball to the other side. And Carolina's like, oh, no. We did they not plan for this? It's just, that. Like I said, that's just a team like the Bengals who, without Jamar Chase, should not have put up those points against Carolina. P.J. Walker gets benched. Looks like he's playing this Thursday for Baker Mayfield. Carolina needs a revamp. Yeah. They're going to be calling up CJ Stroud, Byron Rung, Will Levis. Whoever falls to them, they're taking it. Yeah. Like they need a quarterback. They have a lot of pieces that they need.
Maybe Brian Burns plays like a ghost middle linebacker, and then he just runs to a side when the ball's
right, like kind of like Micah Parsons. Yeah. He's not Micah Parsons' league, but
he'll just sit there, and then when they're in their setup and they're about ready to to get the play going, he just picks a side and goes.
Maybe, yeah, and then it's the other team like, hang on, let's wait for him to pick a side. But that's, like I said, we can move on. Jacksonville Raiders.
Jesus Christ.
Jacksonville wins because the Raiders blow every lead now, apparently. Devontae Adams, all-world again.
And then just nothing.
146 yards, 2 touchdowns. And
It doesn't matter what they do with that guy. He gets 3 yards, they lose. He gets 300 yards, they lose.
That team went up. They're in a situation similar to the Packers where they've gone all in, but at least the Packers have had some success.
Yeah.
The Raiders are kind of, I don't know.
I used to stick up for Derek Carr a lot because I used to think Derek Carr was a very good quarterback who got misunderstood and just didn't have the chance, didn't get the given chance that he should have. But like at this point, I have nothing.
Yeah.
You have Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams. And I mean, granted, Waller hasn't been healthy, which hurts a lot.
But like Matt Collins has played pretty well.
Yeah,
like,
and then you got Josh Jacobs in the backfield, and you still can't win football
and
games.
Josh Jacobs has been absolutely phenomenal this year. Can't win football games.
You still can't win football games. I've got no defense anymore.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I will say it now.
Goodbye.
The Jaguars need to add a couple more pieces, obviously. But next year,
I like the coaching staff on that
But
team.
but I'm already looking ahead next year. You're gonna have they can bring back Evan Ingram, Dan Arnold, not bad tight ends.
No.
Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence.
As much as I fucking can't stand Kirk.
Right, ETN. All of a sudden, you're kind of looking at this team and you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I could see it. I could see what they're building. I like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins, Bears. There's probably a lot to unpack here. We'll try to do it quick because I see our time. We need some time here. Dolphins, Bears. Miami Dolphins. Offense is unreal. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle was like a video game. Like that was like the unmadden you trade for your favorite players the fastest, and then no one can beat you. And you're like, oh yeah, that will never happen in real life. What's happening in real life? Tua is getting them the ball.
I still don't think he's that good of a quarterback because you don't need to be with those guys on the outside.
I mean, Pro Football Focus had him as the number 1 quarterback this week, but at the same time, like these guys are wide open. He's hitting them. Like I will give him credit. He is hitting them, but
it's easy to hit a wide open receiver.
You've got to play too deep every time. Everything underneath is open because you have Tyreek and
that Bears pass rush now fucking stinks.
Also stinks. So I like where the Dolphins are going. Obviously, we have to keep Tua's brains
intact.
It can't go to scrambled eggs. We need over easy or something. I don't know what we need, but it can't
fried
be
egg.
scrambled.
We need a fried egg.
So obviously, I think Miami's going to go as Tua is healthy because he obviously is a much more accurate quarterback. Tyreek Hill keeps saying he's the most accurate quarterback.
Easy.
He's triple downing it now. He's past double downing it. He just keeps hitting the button. He's like, keep it coming. Bears.
Did they figure out how to use Justin Fields finally?
Were we wrong about Justin Fields? Now, I will say I watched a lot of the highlight game clips of this.
Did we not say you gotta let that kid run though?
Gotta let the kid run.
And guess what? What did he rush for? 160 something?
I think it was I could look it up. I think it was almost 180 yards. He either broke the record or he was number 2 for rushing yards ever
for a quarterback. Yeah, he had to because he had a phenomenal fucking game.
And it also helped. Yes, they did lose. All of a sudden having Chase Claypool out there. Now you got to leave another man deep. All of a sudden, you've got to pay a little bit more attention.
Hey, Green Bay.
Green Bay, are you paying attention? Sometimes it helps. Justin Fields, 178 yards. And so, again, I always talk about this. He had a 61-yard run. So even if you take that away, 14 carries for 111 yards. Let the kid move around. Because if you...
And he doesn't... He's good at avoiding hits.
And Justin Fields, too. If you make him drop straight back to a 3 or 5 step drop, make a read, and throw it over that line, it's not going to work. It didn't work. Now they're moving him around. Now they're giving him hey, look at your first 2.
Run.
He puts his head down and he runs, which isn't great because you're going to miss out on a lot of big plays. And I don't know what the longevity is going to be. He doesn't take a lot of big hits, which is key.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good at avoiding.
But at least they have some hope now with Justin Fields.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looked pretty hopeless the first 6-7 games of the year. Yeah. He was all there last year. But now all of a sudden it has a little bit. Miami probably like to run the ball more, but obviously...
I still think Miami's defense is not good. That's my personal opinion. I don't care who they brought in.
Dolphins,
I don't care that they brought in Bradley Chubb. They have a good second... They have a
Bradley
pretty good
Chubb
secondary.
Might be a little overrated.
Yeah.
He might be. We looked up the stats last week and we kind of talked about it, and
The only thing he had going for him was I think it was pressure percentage
He
or
had
something.
some pressures.
He was he was the third highest pressures in the league. But I think that defense fucking stinks.
They need it to not stink though, because that's a hell of a.
They got a lot of money in that. They got a lot of money in that defense.
So, moving quickly, Seahawks winners again over the Cardinals.
Who could have seen that coming? The Cardinals are fucking dead.
The Cardinals are just a disaster.
If we think Green Bay's bad,
so
those Cardinals are terrible.
How much money would I have to pay you to not play Call of Duty? Is that what we're at this point? And then Kyler Murray arguing with Deontay or Hopkins on the sideline for a little bit, bitching at him. Dude,
Hopkins was the one who broke up almost a full-fledged explosion between him and Cliff. 2 weeks ago?
This is not what he thought he was coming back to. I'm sure.
Hopkins is like a therapist at this point. It seems like
this poor guy. Don't get me wrong. Gets suspended PEDs, whatever. Comes back absolutely dominating, and he's got to deal with this clown fiesta. Seattle. Obviously, it's a good team. Ken Walker III. Probably is he going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Probably.
If he doesn't, who else would it be? I don't even know.
It's just they're another team. They're going to run the ball. Geno Smith's playing. If we have time, we're going to play our game with Geno Smith. Mm-hmm. Tampa Bay. Tom Brady makes his big comeback. Absolutely elated. Yeah. Rams are a disaster. Their offensive line's a disaster.
That could be what flips the script on this team. Something like that, because the amount of excitement, joy, happiness that was on that sideline was incredible.
I think that's going to flip. They got to get Evans the ball more.
Well, Evans had an uncharacteristic game last week. He couldn't catch.
No,
he couldn't catch fucking anything.
But the Rams, I am so the
Rams are so dead.
The Rams.
Rams are about as dead as the Cardinals.
I don't even know if they took Band-Aids. They took reused Scotch tape and put it on their offensive line. And I can't believe this didn't work. Yeah. Stafford's got no time. Pick our running back, stick them back there. They're getting hit. They're getting hit at the line of scrimmage. So it
doesn't matter who you got.
It doesn't matter who you got, and then you can only give teams so many chances. They're going to score. The Rams obviously have a good defense, but
Allen Robinson has done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think that is what it is.
Those two teams might be two of the most dead teams in football.
They're just you can't.
The Rams and the Cards.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Rams. Yeah. The Seattle. Loving their life right now, running away with that division. I
still think it's San Francisco's to lose.
San Francisco's hanging around. They had a bye week this week, so let's see what they come out with. But Chiefs-Titans, what a horrible game that was, I thought.
Not what I was expecting whatsoever.
Well, the Chiefs, can you get arrested for shooting yourself in the foot? Is that a thing? Because, man, I didn't...
Mahomes didn't look good.
Mahomes, so he was at 35 out of 45, 343 yards, touchdown.
He had a pick or two, didn't he?
He had one interception.
He just didn't. I don't know. He
didn't have the Patrick Mahomes.
He missed on some very big throws.
Missed on some big
easy throws.
I mean, they had a touchdown called back early, a couple touchdowns called back early because of holding.
Yeah.
So many penalties. Titans play very good defense at this point.
I don't know where that came from.
They basically have a rivalry. Simmons and Mahomes were going back and forth the whole game. Kansas City goes down 17-9. Now, Malik Willis 5 out of 16 for 60 yards, 3 of them screen passes.
Yep.
One was a screen pass to their tight end who rumbles down the field. Just turned the ball and handed it. They did some read options. They let him run a little bit. That game shouldn't have been that close.
It's kind of like what I've been telling LaFleur.
Turn the ball.
You came from that team. You would think that you'd figure it out at some point.
And Kansas City put a lot of pressure on Willis, and they made it work by running the ball. And then they started running read options.
The read option was working too.
And then they started faking the sweeps to buy some time. So Tennessee has obviously put a lot of time into making that work.
Vrabel's one of the better coaches in football.
He turns out, I think he's a pretty good coach. Yeah. I still don't love their team.
No, their offensive. They have no weapons. We can't blame Malik Willis for all this because he has nobody to throw the ball to.
Because as much as I hate Chris Collinsworth on listening, he's like, Malik Willis with a beautiful ball. He was throwing some nice balls.
He was dropping some dimes, and nobody was there to fucking catch him.
And it's also, too,
it was
very
sad.
hard when he ended up having, in the second quarter and the third quarter, fourth quarter, he's throwing it 2-3 times a quarter. Man, that is hard to get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just basically like, hey, man, run the ball, third and long. I hope you hit it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to get into a rhythm like that.
Absolutely.
So I don't really know what else. I think they both are a playoff team. Chiefs, I think, are heading to a showdown with the Bills.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Monday night game, quickly, Ravens Saints.
Didn't get to watch any of this.
I watched that whole game.
You watch every game?
I didn't. I'm not Skip Bayless. I didn't watch every game.
I just wanted to double check. That's all.
Like I said, I watched the Chiefs. I watched the Saints game, Carolina. I watched the end of the Rams Buccaneers game. Didn't watch Seattle Arizona because whatever. Who cares? I watched a lot of clips from Miami Chicago because I saw it on the red zone.
So many
it kept
highlights.
popping up. But I didn't watch any of the Raiders Jaguars. But the Saints. They got some nice pieces. Dalton's not really the guy.
No.
Lamar Jackson, they won. Lamar Jackson, gotta figure
Kenyon
out.
Drake should have fucking won us this week.
Well, yeah, we kind of got screwed on
that.
But, the Ravens have a good team. Lamar Jackson, 12 out of 22 for 133 yards and a touchdown.
That rookie tight end there, what the...
Likely? He's legit. They're pumping out tight ends there.
Yeah, they weren't kidding when they said that he was Mike Andrews Jr.
Yeah, I just don't know if the Ravens, when they get down to the playoffs, because they're going to make the playoffs, when they get down to the playoffs, they get into those games, Lamar Jackson's got to make those throws, and I just don't see it.
He doesn't have the weapons either. He's got the two tight ends.
He's got likely Andrews is out. I think he's back this week, but
he's got two tight ends, and then like I said,
Bateman's out. DuVernay,
he's a punt returner.
They had Deshaun Jackson running around there. That was interesting.
Yeah. I forgot he was playing this week.
Yeah. So I guess that caps it for this week for football. So quickly, I know I have it written down. I see we got about 5-6 minutes. So quickly, top 16 teams, NFL draft. Houston, I think they need a quarterback. Carolina, they need a quarterback. Vegas, where do we put the Raiders? I mean, are you going to roll with the same team? They're number 3. There's the Will Anderson kid as DN, and you have Crosby. That doesn't really fix their issues on offense. But so you could argue if you want to put Vegas on there.
I don't like enough of the quarterbacks for Vegas to go get one. I
think basically it's you're at the point where TJ Stroud looks everything the part of an NFL quarterback-ish.
Except he comes from Ohio State.
And I was talking to Caleb about this. He doesn't really compare to anybody.
No.
Sometimes that's a little nerve-wracking.
You want to see that comparison.
Young looks like a better Kyler Murray, but Kyler Murray kind of is not doing it right now.
Kyler looked a lot like him in college.
And then the other big guy they have is Will Levis, Kentucky, but they got blown out by Tennessee, played absolutely horrible. But
Tennessee's defense isn't that good.
But in Kentucky's they run a pro offense. This guy's got a rocket laser beam for an arm.
He's the one I like the most.
He reminds me of a stronger arm, more athletic Ben Roethlisberger. But this is where college gets tough because where do you put it? He gets blown out against Tennessee and plays horrible against Tennessee. He looked real good last year when he had Wendell Robinson launching the ball too, who just ran under everything. But like I said, so I'm gonna say Raiders, Carolina, Houston. I could all see taking a quarterback. Pittsburgh, I'll say they're safe with Kenny Pickett, so they're removed.
Kenny small hands.
Detroit Lions, they probably need a quarterback.
They're paying Goff so much money though.
Right, and I guess and maybe I could take some. I'm going to take some teams out of here, but Eagles don't need a quarterback, but they took it from the Saints. Yep. Saints desperately need a quarterback. Yep. Arizona, you're married to Kyler Murray, but holy shit,
you're married to Kyler as long as Cliff's there. They're married to
same
him.
thing. Do you hit the panic button on Trevor Lawrence? You put up Trevor Lawrence's numbers versus Gardner Minshew, and you're like, oh boy, what'd we do?
Well, I love Gardner Minshew.
I know you love Gardner.
I hate that he's not on a fucking team anymore.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence is safe, whatever. If you asked me before, when these rankings came out, obviously before the game, Chicago looked like they were in desperate need of a quarterback.
They might have figured out how to use him. We said run him.
So
run him.
They're one. Green Bay, what do you do? I mean, are you going all in with Rodgers? Or are you going all in with Love?
Well, if you go all in with Rodgers, fucking go all in, would you?
They lost 5 in a row. I mean, all of a sudden, Same thing. We're going to pull up on right here. Seattle Seahawks. Are you going all in with Geno Smith?
It sounds like Pete wants to.
It sounds like Pete wants to. I mean, what if they fall off the cliff at the end of the year? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. As of right now, it looks like Pete wants
But then Detroit has another pick. Houston has another pick. Indianapolis has another pick. All teams that need quarterback. Atlanta's got a pick. They're not riding Mariota another year.
I like Ritter, though.
Ritter, but if you don't give... Again, this is where like I'll talk about like quarterback purgatory. If you ride Mariota this year, you got Ritter 1 year, hasn't done anything. Are you going all in on your season? You're going to be like, you know what? Let's see it. Like at some point, you got to make the switch. Commanders, they probably need a quarterback because I mean, Commander Wentz out the door.
Commander Carson's going to be done after this year, unless they're jumping in with Heineken.
So then all of a sudden, that's the top 16 teams. We'll throw Tennessee in there a little bit later because I don't know what's going on with Tennessee, but so like all of a sudden, New England's at 17, currently at 17. They're probably fine with.
I think they're sticking
Jones
with mac and cheese.
Yeah. So like when I'm saying like if Chicago goes on a huge losing streak, you got to think about it. If Green Bay goes on a huge losing streak, you got to think about it. Like I said, there's some teams that are safe because of their contracts, Kyler Murray. But that's a lot of teams that need a quarterback. And I think there's only 3 to go around. Like, we'll see Hooker out of Tennessee. We'll see what Richardson ends up with the Florida Gators. I know your brother loves him, but he could stay another year.
He probably likes Georgia.
He could be a second. Yeah, he's the Georgia peach all day. But like all of a sudden, man, that's a lot of teams that need a quarterback. So,
yeah, no, it is.
Same thing too. Like a 19-year and have Tampa Bay. We'll see if Brady plays another year. We'll see if they roll with Kyle Trask.
I love Trask coming out of college too.
Yeah, so like I said, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
it'll certainly be interesting, and then also too, like you're gonna get into it later on. Like, you got the Jets, you got the Giants.
I think the Jets got to go out and trade for a quarterback.
Right. So I mean, all of a sudden, we could have just named half the league that could use an upgrade at quarterback, and like I said, as of right now, it looks like it's a 3 quarterback draft. Stroud, Young. We'll see how people feel about it, but yeah, that was my spiel of teams that need quarterbacks.
I didn't hate a lot of those though.
Like I said, there's some that you're married to them. Like Trevor Lawrence, you're married to him for at least one more year. Because that next year's his big year 3. I mean, if he doesn't figure it out next year with all those weapons,
yeah, then it's gonna be
all of a sudden you're in a panic. It does help that like Houston has 2 picks, Detroit has 2 picks, so those are 4 picks where you need a quarterback. Carolina, obviously, you're not going to roll with Darnold, Baker, and
Baker's just not staying healthy enough. I still love Baker, but Baker's not been healthy.
Yeah. Anything else? I see we're almost out of time. Or did we do it?
I think we could talk about a little bit of NBA while we got a minute here.
NBA real quick. Lakers are done, right?
Yeah, Lakers are dead. Yeah, Lakers need to get rid of AD. Goodbye. Get him out the door.
You're gonna get value from. No one else you're gonna get value from.
No.
Milwaukee Bucks look real good. Cleveland
trade Middleton. I'm going to say it right now. Milwaukee's trade Middleton because they look
Utah
unreal.
Jazz surprising 9-3, but man, do you know who they remind me of real quick? Is remember when this is a hockey thing? Vegas Knights. They had their expansion draft. They took every team's like third liner.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they have no weaknesses. Yeah. Not saying that the Jazz don't have weaknesses because they don't have a star player or something or anything like that.
No, but they're very balanced.
All of a sudden they're very balanced, and any guy you roll out there like Markinson, Clarkson, Saxon, Conley, Olenek, Malik Beasley, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are figuring it out.
The Cavaliers are surprising us, I think.
Well, Cavaliers...
K-Love's looking good. Garland's looking good when he's staying out there.
We'll see how long K-Love lasts for, but...
give me all of Kevin Love playing good basketball right now.
I love Kevin Love. But, like, right now, Mitchell and Garland are figuring out. Mobley looks real good. Jared Allen, we've talked about that at the trade. We thought that was a mistake when they traded him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, all of a sudden, like, they still got a lot to figure out, and it's going to be a long season. But yeah, I don't know. Cleveland's playing really good.
Celtics playing good ball.
Celtics playing good. Cavaliers, or not, I'm sorry, yeah, we were talking about Cavaliers. Bucks playing pretty good. We're in full panic mode about Brooklyn Nets. I don't really know what else there is to say about that.
Mavs looking good. Suns looking good.
Yeah, Blazers, Nuggets. Clippers, your guys,
yeah,
Clippers.
They're all right.
All right, we'll end it. Till next time, at the Adam Stone.
J_Brunette15.
Till next time. Oh, you got it.